Okay, so here it is, the head awakening teaching. So I've done heart, gut. Uh, for me, I'm going backwards. Well, no, heart, gut, head. I talk a lot about it, and lots of teachings on awareness waking up to itself. But in this continuing series, so what is a head awakening? What is a mind awakening? A free mind. What does a free mind look like? Most people, the first thing that they're interested in, or what gets their interest, is how many thoughts are in the way. They're hijacking awareness, and it's driving them crazy, you know? And so something starts to peek through some teaching they hear about, or maybe even presence starts to come in and peek through, like the sun through clouds. Clouds passing over the sun is a great metaphor for the mind. What obscures the ever radiant sun, the always shining sun? Well, those would be the thoughts in this case, okay? And so, but what is always behind the clouds? No matter what clouds are there, no matter what thoughts are there, obscuring presence passing through, you know, is this radiant sun. And in Zen, they call it big mind, and in non-dual teachings, they would call it awareness. Yeah. And in Christianity and then more of the Gnostic traditions or whatever, they would call it probably a quiet mind, just the quiet, simple, peaceful presence of God. Be still and know that I'm God. Be still. In every tradition, I'm sure there's some kind of teaching about how mind obscures reality as it is. So for many, the first type of spiritual path is inquiring into, who am I? What am I? What is this? Some kind of version of that. It doesn't have to be a non-dual version, but like, what am I? What is God? What is truth? What is presence? Whatever words you're using, whatever lens of beliefs, because trust me, the whole non-dual journey trip, is also a belief system. The way that it's done is not necessarily at its heart what it's really about. So see if you can just drop all of those preconceived ideas of what is bringing you to spirituality. So either you're in it right now where you're curious about what lives in the gaps in between thought, what is shining through my eyes, what is always looking, what is behind all thought. When perhaps you reach during meditation, you land on this quiet place. What is it that's looking through my eyes right now? What is always here? What's always been here, no matter what is happening, no matter how consciousness is being captured by what's taking place. This eternal movie, this, like this stream of images, stream of thoughts, stream of feeling, sensation, stream of taking ourselves to be real and taking ourselves actually to be not okay. You know where that comes from? That feeling of not being okay? It's a very intelligent feeling because the separate self, feeling like we're separate from life, naturally is going to make one not feel okay. So that's just a little sideline. But there's this deep feeling of not being okay, and it creates a lot of different types of thoughts and conditioned thoughts and beliefs about reality, beliefs about yourself, that you're unworthy or you're worthy. A lot of duality being played out. Wonderful, terrible, happy, sad. So many dualities, so many opposites that take place all day long, ping-ponging around. Where am I? Who am I? In some kind of way, locating ourselves. It's unconscious, locating ourselves. Am I safe? Finding out. That's one way of locating. Is and feeling safe has to do with a lot of things. It's not just is body safe, it goes deep. The separate self sense, right? That separate self sense that it feels separate from reality, from nature, from life. It's going to feel very unsafe because it's not even real. So it's going to feel very threatened, threatened by truth. And truth is is includes everything. It includes that part of you that is feeling separate. So what happens when the mind wakes up to itself? I used to say I don't really hear people saying it too much, but it's like, that's how I described it. Mind woke up to itself. And, some people could say awareness became self-aware. Awareness is always aware. Presence is always here. Okay. What realizes that? What realizes that what's always here, what doesn't come and go? Ramana Maharshi, he has a beautiful little saying that a lot of people know about. Allow what comes to come, and what to go, and find out what remains. So all day long, things are coming and going, thoughts coming and going, sensations, feelings, circumstances, events, body impermanence, is happening, coming and going, everything coming and going. So find out what remains. So what remains is what's always here in the background, okay? And we start to get glimpses and glimmers of it. And if you are not sure what I'm talking about, then I would suggest starting meditation practice and doing something that is really effective. Don't get all caught up in complicated teachings, complicated mantras, and a simple mantra will do. Complicated practices in order to quiet the mind. It's way more simple than that. Way more direct. So you're putting it into time. Complications and beliefs about how this could be hard is putting it into time. Resisting and running away out of fear of being stopped finally and having what's true be revealed, and resisting it and coming up with very complicated ways of doing spirituality puts it into time. Continually just listening only to YouTubes of teachers, thinking that's what's going to wake you up, and not actually stop, get still, be silent, enter that space, and it'll disappear. It'll go away back into some noise and then come back, bring it back to a still place until it gets habituated. So resisting that by not being willing to actually do the work is putting it into time. Realization and realizing your true self is not going to happen from the outside. You've heard this, but it takes a real earnestness, as Nisargadatta says, an earnestness, a sincerity to want this more than the distractions. Okay? So awareness, waking up to itself, would be stopping long enough to be noticing awareness. Be the noticing what's always here. Take a little look, a little quarter turn. Look, is presence here now? Is stillness something? Is the quiet here right now? Is something still right now? Unmoving. Change the words around so you're not looking for an object. in conscious. You're not looking for an object. You're not turning this into an object. Is presence here right now. And of course it is. Of course it is. And all it's asking is for you to stop long enough, come back into yourself so it's not forward leaning. You're not forward leaning in the world, hungry, hungry, hungry for distraction. Come back and be still. Be still long enough to notice what is already still. Be still long enough to notice what has always been here. And it's just it's always right here. It's behind a veil because the veil has been placed by us and our distractions. Okay? So you be still long enough and what's always here gets noticed and self-recognized. So it's recognized by consciousness that's aware of it. Consciousness becomes aware of what's always here. And what we want is for that actually to get fascinated with what's always here. So that would be really good use of being a seeker. A spiritual seeker, in this case, would be interested in what's always here, the presence. A seeker in the world and life is lost in addiction to experiences and seeking, always seeking for fulfillment outside of itself. As you know, those last very short. You could even get a new car. It feels great for a while. Soon the next desire will come in, and the next one, and the next one is not ever good enough. That's because what's doing the seeking there, wanting, it's wanting fulfillment in order to feel whole again. It's run unconsciously to look for its ultimate fulfillment outside of itself. And that's something that's been taught to us since we were very young by innocent, confused adults and the collective who lost themselves also in the world and think that's the way that it's supposed to be. Find your fulfillment outside of you. Find the person for you, the work that's going to do it for you. Become as fantastically looking as you can. All this outside desire body stuff of fulfilling in order to replace a sense of wholeness that's been lost that belongs to you, that's not going to be found outside of you, as nice as some of those things can be. I'm not knocking them, but it's not meant to replace your true self, well, who you really are. So spirituality in this way is meant to help bring you back home into remembrance of what you really, really are. And it's always here. Of course it's here. And you don't have to be worthy. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be doing like stand on your head and fast and cross your eyes and whatever. I'm being silly at this point. But you don't have to do any of that in order to be able to come to an understanding that it's what it's requiring. And what it asks for is for you just to stop. And that's not simply easy. I'm not saying it's always easy. It's like, put on the brakes, stop, take a look. What's here? What's always been here? It's just waiting. It's been waiting forever. And it's not insisting, just like, wanting stuff and wanting to be fulfilled is it's a drive inside, missing our wholeness hurts. So then it leads us to like look outside of ourselves and eat the world, eat up. And it's never fulfilling and it causes anxiety to be missing our true selves and deep sadness, a well of sadness. It can lead to depression, to illnesses. So much of one's life can be more at peace by just being willing to stop running and looking for ourselves. Also being distracted and thinking that everything that's taking place inside is worthy of our attention. Now, there comes a time to pay attention to what's taking place inside, especially if there's been a lot of denied. But in order to realize your true nature, your true self, from the awareness perspective, from the mind perspective, there needs to be a pulling back from being, for consciousness to be hijacked by anything. Okay, so the Nisargadatta also was talking about neti neti, neti neti. I'm sure it wasn't only his teaching, but it means not this, not that. So there's not this, not that. What that means is I'm not my feeling in this moment. I'm not that thought, not this, not that. I'm not looking outside of myself for fulfillment. But what am I really? There's a time to re-enter reality and integrate, and I talk a lot about that, okay? But this is a different kind of teaching. This is a leaning back and looking. What am I really? Who am I? That could work for you. Maybe it's an inquiry. That is what you want, is some kind of looking that doesn't come up with an intellectual answer, because it's really a mystery that we're looking at. What is this? What is this? And it looks back at you and it reveals something. What am I really? What is this? Is there really a person here? Is there a center to me? These are very, very valuable, important questions to inquire. It's called inquiry, spiritual inquiry. Ramana would say, who am I? And, just use whatever works for you. What is this? Is there a center to me? Can I find it? Just because it feels like something's here doesn't mean there really is. These are ways to be able to look behind the curtain, to go behind the idea of ourselves, and be able to lean back and say, another one, is it true that presence is not here already? Is it true that it's not here already? So you're not looking for something outside, is it true it's not here already? It kind of tricks the mind. That, is it true? Just kind of does a little paradox. That's kind of what koans are about. They kind of shut down the ability to be able to think one's way out of something, wiggle out of something, so that what's true, what's here always can just reveal itself. So inquiry is one path, one way to be able for awareness to wake up to itself. Another one is just in meditation to be able to start learning how to rest and notice the stillness in between the thoughts. I like to use a very simple mantra and teach that, for beginners, but you might have your way and your preferred way, but whatever it needs to be, it needs to be simple and effective and direct. I have on my, under meditations, I have a Soham meditation teaching. And Soham is a mantra, is a seed mantra. Sanskrit means I am. Soham. And so you would breathe in, so internally you would say it to yourself, and then hum on the outside, and then another breathe in, so hum. And whatever you're using, whether it's simple breath, a mantra, being noticing presence, whatever you're doing, because that's a little harder, it's a little more abstract. I like to give the mind something so it can get lulled and relaxed, because the mind is hypervigilant, right? And it wants to intrude on the quiet, on the silence, and it wants to hijack it again by bringing in something so important. Did we forget to put the eggs away? So important. I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner. So important. So and so is coming by, right? And it'll just use whatever it can to cover over emptiness, to cover over the empty nature of reality and fill it up with some nonsense, because that's its conditioned habit, is to be distracted. And it's also, in some strange way, a little nervous about its empty nature. I wonder why that is. I wonder why. I wonder why it seems so difficult to stop and rest in your being. I wonder. See, these are the things to look at. Really great, open-eyed kind of inquiries. I wonder why it's so hard to stop. Hmm. I wonder why there's resistance. Is there really an I there? Is there really an I here that's resisting? Hmm. So for instance, with the Soham that I brought up earlier, it's just one type of method to be able to have the mind get comfortable with relaxing, because we've been habituated to be in control. The mind is habituated. It's a really bad master and it doesn't like the job, but it thinks that it's supposed to in order to protect. And it's taken on the idea that it needs to protect for survival. And then it wants to protect the sense of a separate self, thinking that just that in itself, the demise of the separate self, is going to be a dying and be the end of you. Do you see what's happened? It's taken the separate self sense idea and belief and is running with it, thinking it needs protection. So anything that would quiet you, quiet your being, and have it be stopped, and have silence be there, stillness, and have emptiness reveal itself, is dangerous to this to the for the mind. It's dangerous for this separate self idea. People might call it ego. So ego is just an idea, it's an idea that the separate self is real. So don't necessarily make it more real by believing that there really is an ego. There is a movement inside that protects the idea of being you. And so anything that you're doing that's going to still it and quiet down, and then the idea of you disappears, can be seen as a threat. But what helps that is supporting the mind to learn how letting go feels good. So that's why meditation is really nice, and relaxing, and doing some different things like yoga nidra, whatever. Even japa meditation, which is this like a mala, and doing japa meditation with just a simple mantra like Soham or something. It gives the mind and even the body something to do, so that so that one can just relax and expand into the unbounded self, and start to learn how good it is and how safe it is for the mind and body to get that too, the psyche. It's safe to let go. because it's all about letting go into not being anything, letting go into not being oriented to being anything in particular. So unbounded, unconditioned, pure awareness, presence, the unborn, true nature, whatever words work for you. It's undefined. It's the undefined essence of you versus the defined. And defined has taken way too much attention and way too much weight, and consciousness is very hypnotized by what's born, by all form, by everything that's arising inside and out. It gets hypnotized. It's like, yep, that's what I'm following right now. Pure, its attention is being followed, consciousness, and the separate self gets a lot of juice that it needs to be protected, and it's all important. Me story, so important, when really there's no such thing as a separate self. There is a sort of an individuated consciousness separate from other things, but the separate self sense, the idea of ego, whatever, in the center, as if there really is, does not exist. So it's the idea of that holding it in place is very threatened by its disappearance. So you want to do some practices and things that help chill it out, relax it to where it feels good. I mean, there was a time when I just fell in love with letting go. I couldn't wait to meditate. And then I brought it more and more into my life, and just kind of like the innocence of a child and wonder. Just, I don't know. Not knowing is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tool and path to follow for a while. A true one, one that feels authentic. So mind waking up to itself would be coming back to its true nature, not the small mind, distracted mind, thoughts that cover over the sun, the ever-present awareness of the sun. Mind waking up to itself, it would know itself as the sun. It would know itself as that, its true source, where everything rises and falls, rises and returns. Thought rises, thought returns. Everything, all that's taking place inside rises and falls. And it has, has life to it while it lasts. But it's not the full story. It's not. It needs to be seen through. It needs to be seen through by that which always is. And once it's been seen through properly, once awareness has recognized itself and it is constant, it doesn't go anywhere anymore, it's always here, no matter what takes place, then thoughts can't hijack it anymore. Thoughts won't cover over it anymore. And that idea of being empty and pure presence is not seen as a threat anymore. And so this kind of switcheroo happens from believing in a separate self, this is what I am, so solid, so real, and so threatened by everything, everything hurts the me, to switching to what's living this life is life itself, is true self, pure presence. It's living this life now. And then everything gets put in its proper context. So feelings still come and thoughts still come and sensations and all that. And they're not pushed away and denied over time. There's a learning curve, but it's not what's leading anymore. It's not what's the primary. And in fact, actually, they end up living side by side comfortably. So no one has to be the alpha leading. True nature is inclusive of all that's arising. But for many, For many, the first spiritual understanding is something called self-realization, where the self realizes itself. That's really the first awakening. Self realizes itself. And it is more of a mind head thing, consciousness and awareness of itself. It's got sort of an empty feeling to it. It is, and it can feel a bit witnessy, distant for a while, a little cool toned, like all is that, all is that. And that is phase, that's a phase. So enjoy it, but don't get addicted to it, thinking that's the only awakening. That's the first awakening. I'm not saying some people don't have a heart awakening first, because some do. But I have another video I'll leave at the end, that you can see on heart awakening. And then there is another awakening to gut, and that is connected to body awakening. So who would have thought there are all these different types of realizations to be had? So self-realization is calling. If you already have experienced it or are living it, wonderful. And if it's something that you're needing some help with, get some help with, but go to someone who really knows their stuff, seeing through the eye. And they may think that that's the only type of realization you ever need to have. But for a full circle awakening, it includes our humanity. And then, so it's not just vertical, it's also horizontal and vertical awakening, kind of similar to the cross, right at the heart, right here. Oh, vertical and horizontal meeting, full embodied human living the potential of the divine. Well, I hope this is helpful. I'm sure I left some things out, but this is good enough for now. And I wish you well as always. Warm blessings.